And we are live.
All right, let me
A
get my
live,
stuff
however
ready.
you want to say
All
it.
right, all right, let me do my thing here. Give a couple of minutes here. All right, okay, there, we are ready. All right, we are live as on your channel, my channel, and I guess I know YR's channel just as well there. All right, so good evening, everybody. This is Arknolia the Doctor, episode number 71 of our music memory series. And as another suggestion from Prince Idol, who won't be able to make it today, we're going to be taking a look at the Doors, the famous or infamous California, Los Angeles band that whose frontman Jim Morrison still remained one
Yes.
of the unique of his kind. There, I mean, he was very well known for being unpredictable at most performances in the studio. You name it, there. And later on, we're going to be taking a look at something that I always wanted to know if, by chance, Jim Morrison maybe had a mental illness or something, because no other person often did the crazy shit that he did most times. Now, if you ever saw the movie The Doors from '91, directed by Oliver Stone, or if you read the book No One Here Gets Out Alive, there was this incident, I guess, where all friends was driving a car. They were trying to avoid a police car, and Morrison just got to grab hold of the steering wheel, just drove right into the back of it.
Yep. Yep.
Yes,
Almost
and of
like
course,
he's almost like Ozzy Osbourne before Ozzy Osbourne in a way.
pretty much here. Yes, and we
Didn't he do
cannot
some
forget.
like indecent exposure thing on stage? Didn't he do
Yeah,
something?
that
Or
was in Miami, Florida. There.
he said
Yeah,
like
he
I wanted
was.
to fuck your father, or didn't he say he
Yeah,
wanted to
well,
fuck his
fuck you,
fathers?
yeah,
Yeah.
fuck the mother. I want to fuck you, and he did that
God.
during the performance of at the Whiskey a Go Go, and immediately right afterwards they were fired. And we also cannot forget what happened with Morrison did after they were done recording their Essence classical, The End. Apparently, what it was is that hours after they were finally done with that track, they Jim Morrison apparently walked into the studio where they recorded and doused it with a fire extinguisher. So we got to definitely take a look at that. Those it be possibly may have been had a mental illness or something like that, or because no other person would do such crazy shit like that, other than a Keith Moon or Ozzy, as you mentioned there. So it'll be interesting, to check out. Now we all know who the Doors were, and it was Jim Morrison on vocals, Ray Manzarek on keyboards, Robbie Krieger on guitar, John Densmore on the drums, and as we all know, they recorded their first album. It basically came out in '67. They followed it with Strange Days, Waiting
Yeah,
for the Sun, and
yeah, and I
a
bought
lot.
that first album when it came out.
Yeah,
Oh, yes, I was around.
yeah, nice, absolutely. There, I was about, I believe, it was about 2 years old. I think, man, when that record came out. No, actually, 1 year
67?
old. No, actually, no, you're wrong. I was about 1 year old when that album came out. I was born the year before.
Oh, I don't think you were buying it.
Now I'm
Um,
No,
sure y'all
obviously
seen.
because
I'm sure y'all seen the Doors movie with Val
right.
Kilmer, right?
I think I haven't. I always saw bits and clips of it when it was on the TV there, syndicated TV. And
Listen, they usually have it in the the $5 DVD bin at Walmart. It's in
yes,
there.
I know. Yeah, I know
I would
somewhere
buy it,
there.
and it's good, but some people say like that, like Jim Morrison wasn't really like loosey goosey, like how they portrayed him in the movie.
I
Like, oh,
know. I know Ray Manzarek, who passed away, by the way, in 2013. You know, he spoke out heavily against the movie. He one time told a radio programmer, or radio in a radio interview, that apparently they tried to give the right details about this and that, and of course Oliver Stone did not listen. But then again, you got to remember, that's how they try to hype the movie up to make to sell the product.
Oliver
Right.
Stone, that's a well-known movie maker, director, or whatever.
Movie maker, with the exception of Natural Born Killers from '94. almost every movie that he did was pretty much, based on, 60s conspiracies, 60s stories. Like, he directed the movie Platoon with Charlie
Yes.
Sheen. Yes. He also directed the JFK from 1996 or 95 or 94 there. And also he he's always had a fascination with the 60s when you look at it there. He always had. I mean, like, cause obviously, let's also not forget he wrote the screenplay for a movie called Midnight Express, which was about, if I understand, about a drug dealer getting caught or something like that. I don't really know. I don't really know the full details of that movie, but apparently, it had something to do with a drug bust or something. There, I got to look it up on the Wikipedia sometime there. All right.
Okay,
We,
that first album, uh, Light My Fire, obviously was the one that really got me and turned me onto the
yep.
Doors,
Yep.
but also Break On Through and Backdoor Man.
Yep.
Oh
Willie
yeah.
And
Dixon,
then when I
remember?
got the album,
Oh
The
man.
End caught me.
Yes. Yes, it was. It was a
Eat your
very
dinner, eat your pork and beans. I eat more chicken than any man ever seen. Oh yeah.
yeah, Willie Dixon tune there.
Really good one,
It
Art.
is
Would
absolutely.
that be
They
considered a deep track of the Doors?
something like a deep track that got radio airplayed a lot, few times back in the day. There.
Yeah, Doors albums overall are very listenable. There's not any song on there that you
Yeah.
can go, oh gosh, I got to skip over this one.
Absolutely there.
I mean, this one had some real classics in a way.
It did.
I Looked at You, Take It As It Comes,
Soup Kitchen, Soul Kitchen, or was it called Soul Kitchen? I
Soul
believe it was.
Kitchen,
Yep.
and then Alabama Song or Whiskey Bar.
Absolutely there. And of course, the other tracks like, Take It As It Comes.
Yeah, my favorite track on this album, once I got the album and listened to the whole thing, is The End.
Yeah. That's the one that gets you the most because it was about 11 minutes long, which was unique at that time because
There
usually,
weren't many songs like that.
yeah, were. But here's something else. They had to, before FM radio, AM stations had to rely on the single version, which was way edited down. When FM came about, that's when the 7-minute version would be played.
Yeah, well, we're talking about Light My Fire now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
they
think that
they took out the little middle part,
solos.
the
Yeah,
solo
the
part.
solos, Ray's solo and then Robbie's solo.
Yeah, yeah. And the first time I heard the whole thing, I was saying, "What the heck is wrong with AM radio?" Of course, I had an FM station near me that played all the started playing. It was an underground station. They played all this stuff like this,
Yeah.
Cream, The Doors, uh, Grateful Dead, things of that nature.
Wow. I remember when I first heard Light My Fire, I think it was the edited version, the single one there. So when I listened to the Ray FM station, they started playing the whole album version. I was like, wow, this is unique. I didn't know these existed in there.
Yeah, a lot of songs are that way though.
Yo, Brown, was it the Ed Sullivan show where they
Yep.
banned
Yes, it was. Yeah,
the
apparently,
Beatles, like, and
yeah,
the Beatles?
yeah, it was. They didn't want him to say Crow we couldn't get much higher because to them it was like a drug reference there. And
And they
the
told
more,
him to change it. He refused, of course, and just went ahead and sang it.
yep, and then that's when they were and Ray, according to Ray Manzarek, the guy was almost in tears. It's like, oh, you promised you wouldn't say higher on our show. You promised, and they were told not to come back, onto the program. That would be their only appearance.
Next album, which of all their albums is actually my favorite, Strange Days.
Yeah, the second record, the one with That's the one with "Hello, I Love." No, that's
No,
"Waiting for the Sun," I believe. Yeah, that's
no. Well, yeah,
uh,
Waiting for the Sun had hello, right.
yeah. Okay,
But
there.
this one had Strange Days, which great song. Your
Yeah,
Lost Little
which is
Girl.
good. Yeah, and I remember there was an industrial cover of the title cut there. I forgot who did it, but I remember hearing it a few times and at the City Club in Detroit there. And when I heard the Doors version, I was like, oh, now wow, wow, interesting there. Wow. One of
Yeah.
those unique moments there that you have.
And then they did Love Me Two Times was another single. Did quite well.
Absolutely. They did, absolutely.
Unhappy Girl.
Yeah, because I remember I had that yeah, that's the girl who I guess the story about a girl who was supposed to get married, but unfortunately something happened along the way, I guess.
Yeah. And then an interesting little piece called Horse Latitudes,
Mm.
which, if you read about it, is an actual thing that exists.
Mm.
The ships back in the old days, everywhere they went, they carried their horses.
Yeah.
And when they reached the still of the sea, they started tossing the horses overboard, which
What?
is, yeah, that's what the song's about. Listen to the words.
Wow. Nowadays, you do that shit, you get all the attacked left and right by all these animal rights activists.
Well, they were doing it to lighten the ship so it would sail.
Oh
But
my gosh.
again, it's
But
it's a
still,
cruel
it was
thing to
still
do.
it is cruel. I mean, come on, man. Couldn't at least just come up with a
Yeah,
separate ship to put the horses on there and tag them which one belonged to who?
but it was the first instance of him doing some of his poetry, because this is
Mm.
a poetic piece.
Yeah.
And like I said, listen to the words. They're talking about tossing them overboard and watching them
Wow.
drown.
Wow, man, that is a trip because horses, I understand, don't really swim, if I
No,
correct.
no.
Wow, that's crude, man. That's fucking crude.
Yeah, then they
Wow.
followed that up with Moonlight Drive, which is a great little
Oh, yeah.
song.
Yeah, and interesting. We all know the story behind that song. Apparently, there was a more. Apparently, that was written before they started becoming a band. Apparently, more than they were. I guess they were in college. I guess some sort of school. Ray was doing some time off there. Um, Jim Morrison was supposed to go somewhere, but he decided to stay. He met up with Jim. Then those two met up, said like, no, and he showed the lyrics to Moonlight Drive, and Ray was entranced by what he had heard, and that's when they decided to put it down on music there.
Yeah. Then side two started with People Are Strange.
Oh yeah, with
Great
by the
song.
way, a great song, which kind of makes sense, when you think about it there, especially in today's strange times with all the people with the multiple piercings, dudes with pink hair, which I've seen at the mall a couple of times.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if you're a guy, if you're trying to trying to get laid, pink hair ain't gonna cut it.
Well, I don't know. In some cases, it probably works.
Yeah, but then again, the chicks who go for them probably one of those SJW queef bags.
Yeah. Then My Eyes Have Seen You.
Hmm.
I Can't See Your Face in My Mind. And then it closes out with not only my favorite song on this album, possibly my favorite Doors song, When the Music's Over.
Yep, absolutely. And that, by the way, that featured one little piece called that one lyric, cancel my
Subscription
prescription
to
for
the
resurrection.
reservation.
Reservation. Oh, I thought it was a resurrection.
You're right.
And I guess that caught a lot of flack from various church groups around the area there because of that.
Yeah. And then they followed up with another album I like really well.
Waiting for the sun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good song. Good title track there. An interesting album piece here now I wanted to bring up the celebration of the lizard. This was supposed to be take up all of side two of that whole album, but yet there was I guess there were a lot of issues going on with that, so they took some of the tracks that were supposed to be on that piece there, and they decided to just put it on the album with some other new tracks that they recorded there. They
Yeah,
reserved the
they
celebration. They reserved the celebration of the Lizard for their live performances. In fact, Absolutely Live has that whole piece all together there with all the tracks included on there, including Not to Touch the Earth.
yeah, that the lyrics are on the the fold out.
Yes, the
The
gatefold.
entire lyrics to Celebration of the Lizards there.
Yes. Yep. And that's where I guess, where Jim Morrison got the nickname the Lizard King. I
Yeah,
am the Lizard King. I could do anything.
yeah. This album opened with "Hello, I Love You," which we talked about a minute ago. That's
Yep.
probably their biggest, outside of "Light My Fire." That's probably one of their biggest singles.
Yes. I remember The Cure did their version for Elektra Records' 40th anniversary many years ago there. I remember hearing a version of that on the Canadians underground station there.
Yeah. Then "Love Street," not to touch the earth, which that song
Yep.
is a fun listen because it ends with there's a name for them. I call them discordant
Hmm.
chords. They're chords, but they're
Abstract.
abstract. But there's a word for it. I just can't remember what it is. I want to say discordant, but that's not it.
Okay.
But it ends with some really strange chords.
I
But it's
see there.
cool.
Yeah, it is. Wow. But that's what made the Doors unique, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
They're trying different things out where everybody else wasn't.
Then they had "Summer's Almost Gone."
Which is basically what it is here in Texas.
Yeah.
Because if you've ever been outside, it was windy as hell out there.
"Wintertime Love." And then a kind of a controversial song in a way, "The Unknown Soldier."
Oh my God, that was a freaky one right there, man.
Yeah.
Very freaky one to listen to there. The march, Morrison acting out as a commander, shooting him point blank range. It's kind of basically had an anti-war feel to it, which many radio programmers couldn't really play because it was considered a little too dark and a little bit too weird.
Yeah.
But definitely there was an aim at the Vietnam War going on at that time.
And the second side started with "Spanish Caravan," which is a nice little song.
hmm
Then "My Wild Love," which I believe the whole thing is a cappella.
Ah,
I'm pretty sure it is, actually.
oh, I got to look it up, man, and listen to it sometime.
Kind of, it's, excuse me, interesting.
All
Then
right.
we could be so good together. "Yes, the River Knows."
Yeah.
And then what has become a tradition, their album, the last track is a
Art
arty
piece,
type
I guess.
thing,
Yes.
5-1.
5-1. That's where the Jim Morrison speaks the words, "No one here gets out alive."
Yeah.
And that's what's become the title of the book, written by Danny Sugarman.
And I believe it was also the title of one of their compilation albums.
I believe maybe so, 5-1 or 4-5. I know there were so many
No,
compilation albums that came.
no one gets out of here alive. We'll get to it now when I.
That was, yeah. I don't think I know there were so many Doors compilations. Hard to keep track whether it's 13 or Weird Scenes from the Gold Mine or
And what we're
the
talking
Greatest
about it,
Hits. Yeah,
the remixes they did for the 40th anniversary.
yeah.
Personally, I don't care for them.
I mean, I think I
I like
remember
the
hearing
original
them.
mixtures,
Yeah, the original mix of the end there. It has the
especially
Morrison
that
saying
song.
fuck, 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 fuck. And it was right there in the right there. It was played. Actually, was played on the radio. Believe it or not, a Canadian station
Yeah,
during the daytime.
but
Apparently, it's
I
allowed
liked
to.
the version before the remix
Yeah,
because I think the him doing that where he does it distracts.
mhm. Absolutely, there. It's kind of sounds weird, but then
Yeah,
again, it's hard to. I guess you got the idea. Hey, let's remix and make it somewhat new again. Hey, let's add what this originally was supposed to have been in there. Let's add this in there. But the thing is, you're taking away the original essence, the original intensity of the track when you do that. There, for
right.
example, I spoke about this before. Raw Power by Iggy Pop and the Stooges. The original done by David Bowie, massively big. Yeah, it may have been screwed up recording wise. It may have been a mixed up album, but still, it had that power. It had that intensity. I used to listen to that record on one of my old record players and with my old pair of headphones, vintage headphones, I should say. There, I was like, man, the sound of James Williamson's guitar, phenomenal. Just the sound alone
Yeah.
was attractive to me to that album there.
Sometimes though, when they do remixes, they do a good job, but a lot
Hmm.
of times it doesn't sound right.
Well,
You,
if I were to remix the remix Raw Power, for example, I would have the bass a lot more up there. I have a lot more treble going up there. If I had a chance, I would possibly do some remix Bill Ward's drums on Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, because if you listen to that whole album, it's hard to hear his snare drum on the title cut, let alone a couple other tracks there. But it would be nice to hear how the snare drum on the title cut there a few times, or let alone hear some of the drums in general, whether it's the hi hat or the bass drum.
yeah. Then we followed it up with Soft Parade, which was
Ah,
another album I really liked.
mm-hmm.
Tell All the People, and then another hit single, Touch Me.
Yeah, and which had that Vegas feel to it there.
Shaman's Blues, Do It,
Mm-hmm.
Easy
Nice.
Ride.
Yep.
Then they opened up side two with Wild Child
Mm-hmm.
and Running Blue, which almost sounded country.
Oh.
Oh, poor Otis dead and gone, left me here to sing a song. Pretty little
Mm.
girl with a red dress on, poor Otis dead and gone.
Uh,
Have you not heard that song?
I don't think I have heard that. I remember seeing the record. Remember, I only had a few. Only had a. I only had basically the first record there, and I
Oh,
would listen to the radio a few times for the other tracks, whether it's "Waiting for the Sun," "Hello, I Love You," "When the Music's Over," this song or that song.
well, Running Blue was played on the radio.
Oh, nice. Probably I was probably when I was in probably not when I in the area that I lived, probably in different states, I guess.
Possibly, I don't know.
Yeah, possibly, yeah, because I've never heard about that piece until now.
And then Wishful Sinful,
Mm,
and then their typical album closeout long song, The
yes.
Soft Parade.
The title cut there. I guess the record label decided either it was the band's decision to leave the experimental stuff as an album closer, or it may have been the record labels. Noting how much controversy the end got them.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
very likely so.
yeah. Now, of course, we are going to move on to Morrison Hotel, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and that was kind of a departure, but it was still good. I
Yeah,
mean, it's,
it went towards the more blues track right there. It went more the more bluesy stuff that they kind of grew up with.
yeah,
This one would of course include Roadhouse Blues, whether they're essential classics as well. There,
yeah, and it had, hang on, I'm having a little
go
trouble
ahead. Go
maneuvering
ahead.
here.
All right.
But yeah, it opened with Roadhouse Blues. No, it didn't. Yes, it did.
Oh,
Then Waiting for the Sun, You Make Me
waiting for
Real.
waiting for the Sunday. They redid that song again, or was it taken from the
This is
last
the
record?
album was on originally. Waiting for the
Oh,
Sun was the album title.
I see there. I got mixed up there. Same thing we did with Zeppelin did with the album Houses of the Holy and the song Houses of the Holy after the Houses of the Holy album came out.
Right. Then you got You Make Me Real. And then a song I'm pretty sure that you can, well, I don't know what the word relate to is what I'm trying to say here. Peace Frog.
Peace Frog. Mm. And this is a song about peace, I understand, because of the title.
Yeah, pretty much. But I just thought you'd find it interesting the word frog in the title.
Oh gosh. Oh, that makes sense now. Well,
And
uh,
they followed up with Blue Sunday, which actually is kind of connected to that song.
ah,
Then Ship of Fools. For second side had Land Ho, The Spy, Queen of the Highway,
yeah.
Indian Summer, and Maggie McGill.
And there was no long pieces on this album, if
No,
I
not really.
understand, right?
They departed from that for some
Um,
reason.
well,
Maybe they make it up for the next album.
yeah. I think what it was is that after a while you just get tired of doing the same old, same old. There was I remember hearing the story that Morrison was getting very frustrated with being, people asked him to do Light My Fire all the time and all the hit songs. Like,
Yeah,
I guess one time he asked the crowd at one show, "What do you want to hear?" They all yelled out, "Light My Fire." But instead, they decided to do the whole celebration of the lizard piece from start to finish.
yeah. I was always a fan mainly of the deep cuts for the most part anyway, because I
So am
figured,
I.
whatever you hear on the radio, you can hear anytime. So I wasn't
Absolutely.
real
And
worried about it.
nonstop and for eternity as well there.
Yeah. Okay, LA Woman.
Oh yeah, this was actually the last record for the band. Their contract with Elektra, their longtime label, was inspired after this one. And this is when Jim Morrison started changing his look. He was starting to put on a lot more weight. He had grown a beard, and this was I believe after the Miami incident, if I understand, where apparently the story was, um, he got up. Apparently said this was recorded on the bootleg, and he said it out loud. You're all a bunch of fucking idiots. Maybe you like having your face down in the shit. I mean, he basically was tolerating. He was condemning his audience,
Yeah.
I guess, for being sheep. For I understand. And basically, this was also the performance, if I remember, where he almost exposed himself. You want to see my cock? And I guess all the people started saying, or went wild after that. And he was kind of like, according to Ray Manzarek, trying to tease him a little bit there, trying to tease that there. And of course, he ends up getting busted by the Miami police for obscene stuff there. And there was a possibility that the trial was going to be coming up soon there.
Yeah.
He was facing jail time.
Yeah, and it's funny because there was on the Absolutely Live album, I don't remember what song it's part of, but
Yeah.
but there's a bit there where it said, I forget exactly how he said it. It was something like, "You folks want to see something," or something like that. And of course, the
Oh,
crowd goes nuts, and he says, "Oh no, no, not here, not here," or something
oh
like
yeah.
that, which
Oh
was an
yeah.
obvious reference to Miami.
Absolutely there. And for I understand, they got banned from a lot of cities.
Yeah, for the most part, they did.
Yeah, apparently what there was, according to Manzarek, they was actually going to do a tour. What they did in the past is they were billed at this day, this gig at this place there, this gig here for about either a week or two there. They was going to actually do a tour, and they found out the news that a lot of the cities had prohibited them from performing there because of the Miami.
Yeah, which
Because
is kind
people were
of
become which kind of makes well, and when you think about it, when you have a front man who was out of control like he was, it's going to be reluctant to build them there because who knows what's going to happen to your venue or the people who attend there. Like back when the Two Live Crew, remember the Two Live Crew? They were supposed to do a show at Harpo's Concert Theater, and apparently what it was is that the mayor of Detroit, Coleman Young, requested that they not perform there. And
Yeah, it's
at the
kind of
my at the,
funny when you think about how people were reacting to the Doors and the
yeah,
possibility,
yeah.
and then you see things like the Red Hot Chili Peppers coming out with their socks.
I know, socks
It's
and nothing else on. And Flea, their bass player, coming out playing Woodstock '99 at the completely in the nude.
yeah, it's kind of like, boy, times have changed.
I know, absolutely there. But then again, you got to remember when you have a band that's controversial, whether it's the Doors or Black Sabbath or Alice Cooper at the time, people were very worried about him. He one time said in an interview that mothers still often hide their babies from him at times when he's in a go before he gets onto the airport there.
Yeah, yeah, and his stage shows were something else.
Absolutely there. Of course, now it's all tame and stuff like that since he's a born again Christian there, but
Yeah,
people were really were afraid of this guy for a long while back then.
yeah, I remember back in the day when they played there used to be something called Don Kirshner's Rock Concert on that night.
Yes, yes, I remember. Yes,
They they played one of his shows. Are you familiar with the song Killer?
yes, I am.
Yeah, at the end of the song, they actually walked him up a flight of stairs
Yep.
and simulated hanging him.
Ah, yes, I remember that story. In fact, there was even I remember seeing the poster for that album that came with the album in there, and it had kind of had that image right there, man.
Yeah, I mean that was a spooky moment.
Oh
When
man,
I saw that
holy
on
cow!
TV, I was like, "Holy cow!" Because they
Yeah,
televised it apparently without watching it ahead of time.
absolutely. So they were uninformed of what was going to go on there. So like, holy cow! You can imagine what the TV guys at the booth there were thinking. Oh shit! What did we not do here? And
Yeah.
some bonehead and somebody's trying to call me, and they're not going to get through because it's a scam ass. So long, sissy.
Okay, on L.A. Woman,
All
you
right.
had The Changeling, Love Her Madly, another single.
Mm-hmm. Good song there.
Been Down Too Long, Cars Hiss By My Window. And I guess this was their long closer from the previous album they didn't do, L.A. Woman.
Oh yeah, their love song to L.A. there.
Yeah. Then the second side open was L'America, Hyacinth House, Crawling King Snake,
Yep.
The Wasp, Texas Radio, and the Big Beat.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing that one time there.
And then to close out this album, they went back to a long song, Riders on the Storm.
Yes, one of the classic pieces right there. And it's no secret now that that track alone and it was an inspiration for the movie The Hitcher, which originally first came out in 1984, starring
Yeah,
Rieger Halter, C. Thomas Howell, and Lee Thompson. Of
yeah,
course, it got remade, I guess in the early 2000s. I forgot who starred on that there.
yeah. And this was the last studio album that Jim Morrison was officially part of.
Yeah,
Then they had two more albums, which Other Voices, which had I think one good song on it.
yeah. And Full Circle. And
Right.
these were the ones without, as you mentioned, without Jim Morrison after his passing. They tried to go on as they were, but unfortunately, it just didn't lickety split. Needless to say, there.
Yeah, they tried to find a sound alike on that first album, Other Voices, and that
Yeah,
didn't work out well.
yeah,
And then they released another album, technically with Jim Morrison, An
mm,
American Prayer, which was poetry set to
yeah.
music.
Yes, I had that. I had that on cassette there. That would also include the live version of Roadhouse Blues up there. I know that was taken from the Absolute Live album, but I think it
It
also
wasn't
includes
on
another.
Absolute Live.
Oh, it wasn't?
No,
Okay, so I may have been mistaken there, but it may have been a recording that they had stored up somewhere.
but that absolutely, excuse me, that absolutely live album was really good. And that was the
Mm.
one that had Celebration of the Lizard that you talked about earlier, the whole
Yeah,
thing.
the whole piece there, folks.
And they had two or three other live albums, but absolutely live was the big one.
All right.
And I was kind of glancing through the archive albums because there was one or two songs that showed up on one of them,
Yeah.
and they did have one called "No One Gets Out of Here Alive."
All right. So I stand corrected on that there.
That might be the one that had those two songs. One of them's "You Need Meat, Go No Further," and I kind of forgot the name of the other one. Let me see
Mm.
if I see it.
All right.
Well, apparently I clicked on their own album.
Uh,
I'm trying to find the compilation one that I was thinking of. Hmm.
um, may have been the Doors' greatest hits. I know there have been so many box sets, compilations, greatest hits on the Doors. It's hard to keep track nowadays, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh well.
It would have been nice, it would have been nice, to have something different, like unreleased recordings or demos that they were recording while recording these albums. But unfortunately, there is none so far. Now we also got to get to the supposed reunions that they
Huh.
did. They had originally what was what they did is they did the VH1 Storytellers where they had guest artists like Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction, Ian Asbury from The Cult, and a couple others there singing the various Doors songs there. And I guess they decided, hey, let's get Ian Asbury to do this supposed relapse tour, not a reunion. Now, Densmore wasn't able to. Apparently, he was going to be take a part of it, but unfortunately, for some reason, he was replaced with somebody else. They were supposed to also get Stuart Copeland from the Police on the drums, but that didn't go out too well there. Apparently, Densmore opted out because of hearing issues there. So they decided to call the Doors of the 21st Century.
Hmm.
And they later changed and decided to go with Riders of the Storm, a review of the Doors music there. It was just basically Krieger and Manzarek with a whole bunch of different musicians as well.
Yeah, but if you don't have Jim Morrison,
Mhm.
it's just
It's
not the
not
same.
it's not the same, no, unfortunately, folks.
Well, I
Which
did
is
find
kind
the
of
album, I think.
all right there.
Weird Scenes Inside the Gold Mine.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that a while back there.
And one of the songs that's on this album wasn't any other. Who Scared You?
Mm.
And then the one I said a minute ago, You Need Meat, Go No Further.
Ah, interesting. Now, I mentioned this subject on the top of the program. Do you think possibly that Jim Morrison may have been mentally ill somewhere?
Uh, I'm not sure if that was the case. I just think he was a free thinker.
Mm.
I don't know if he was actually mentally incapacitated or he just thought differently from the rest of us.
Maybe so there.
Because a lot of times, people that don't think like everybody else is considered
Yes.
mentally ill, and that's not always the case.
Yeah,
Sometimes a person just thinks, I mean, a lot of times people were wondering if Albert Einstein was mentally ill. No,
that's true.
he was
No,
a
you just
genius.
yeah.
He
I
thought on
mean,
a
he was
different
also
plane than the rest of us.
all right. I'm looking at a thing there on a thing called Quora.com, and the thing
Right.
was entitled, "Was Jim Morrison, you know, generally unstable?" Here, and it's going to be popping up in a second here. Taking the time there. I'm going to try to look up and read the bits and pieces of this article. Where the thing
If it's a
shows up.
typical Quora answer, it's pretty short anyway.
All right, there. Let's see here. There we go. Now we're ready. We can go there. Now, let's see. Was he unstable genuinely, or was it just part of his act? Now, one person named Christine said, "I think it was unusually smart, but became unstable because of the heavy drinking and the drugging. He left a beautiful legacy with his music and his poetry, though. He remains a rock and blues legend today." Yeah. And let's also keep in mind, Jim Morrison was a heavy drug user and a drinker at times.
Yeah, but that's kind of the way I thought it was he was just, and it's true with a lot of people that are at that genius level.
That's true there.
They other people just think, oh, he's nuts. He doesn't think like us. Well, there's a reason he
Absolutely.
doesn't think like you. He's way ahead of you.
Absolutely there. Now, person named David in this article, his reply is, quote unquote, "I'm going to have to disagree. He was generally somewhat unstable and had a morbid fascination with death. Now, I'm not saying he was a total nut job by any means, but he certainly was a bit strange in the way he thought and acted," which is true there.
Yeah,
Plus, he was fueled by the alcohol and the drugs, which we all know is going to make you do all the crazy shit that he did. I mean, like,
true.
look at Ozzy Osbourne. Whenever he was drunk or high, he did some crazy ass shit without thinking,
Yeah, that.
including trying to strangle his wife and manager back in '88.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of that show he did for a while.
Yeah, the Osbournes.
Yeah, I saw a couple, three episodes of it, and it was
Oh,
kind of like,
I watched all of
whoa.
them. Watched all of them. Yeah, we all know he was drinking there during that time. We all know now, but because people are taking little bits at him, thinking like, what's Ozzy saying here's the context. What is Ozzy saying right now? Guess what he's saying, and you win a prize.
Yeah, yeah. They had a couple, three interesting shows like that.
Yeah, I
I
know.
watched a lot of the Gene Simmons one, what Family Jewels,
Yeah, I remember. Yes, I mean that was on A&E there.
and then actually he was quite a guy.
Yeah, he is.
And
Him
his
and
kids were
him.
something else. They were
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Yeah, his daughter Sophie is beautiful. His son, forgot his name there. He's a musician just as well, as long as Evan Stanley, Paul's son there.
Yeah, but like I said, that show was interesting and actually pretty entertaining,
Yeah,
and the kids were cool. I liked them,
right.
and of course Shannon Tweed. Who can go wrong with her?
Absolutely there. Now, I'm going to read on something here, back to Jim Morrison here. This is from Wikipedia Commons. Now, I don't know, well, this was written by a thing called Psychologically Today.
Right.
The mysterious demise of Mr. Mojo Rising. What led to the premature death of Doors' member Jim Morrison? Here's what it says here. Let me pop this out of here. What are those security come ups? Jim Morrison, the poetic lyrical voice of the Doors, died at the age of 27 in Paris, France. On the group's next to final album, Morrison Hotel from 1970, before his demise, sounding like he just woke up this morning and got myself a beer. Morrison famously wails, "The future's uncertain and the end is always near." Very existential stuff.
Yeah.
Life is inherently insecure and death and ever present eventually. Clearly, Mr. Morrison realized that these facts of life, but wonder what Morrison's state of mind was at the time he wrote those lyrics. Recorded the raunchy but rockin' Roadhouse Blues. and sometime soon after died of apparent drug and alcohol overdose. Has
Right.
he succumbed to nihilism or critical despair? Was his slow death a sort of a passive suicide, an escape from his angst, I guess? Accounts of Morrison's mental state during his 4-month retreat to Paris after leaving Los Angeles are varied and conflicting. There are some indications that certain letters that he wrote to friends and business associates that he was happy and optimistically planning a future life in that city. On the other hand, there are reports of very heavy alcohol abuse, excessive smoking, cannabis and regular cigarettes, erratic behavior, mood swings, and a possible near fatal drug overdose. And this is before his untimely death.
Right.
According to Sam Bennett, Bear was what's his name? My bad. Sam Burnett in 2007, a former New York Times reporter and French friend of Jim Morrison's. Um, Morrison died probably from respiratory arrest.
Yeah.
It was a heart attack in the bathtub there.
Right.
But apparently it was a nasal heroin, overdose where he snorted it, I guess, in a notorious Paris nightclub. And his lifeless body was then moved to his apartment to avoid a scandal. This version of events clearly contradicts, but in some ways seemed more credible, that the description of what happened to Jim's longtime girlfriend, Pamela Corson, who basically was his common law wife. She passed away years later, years not too long ago. Um, she was a alleged heroin addict herself, who told police that they had spent the night together drinking, and that Morrison became quite ill during the night, vomiting blood, was discovered by her in the bathtub, fully clothed, deceased the next morning. In either case, the French police suspected no foul play or evil deeds such as homicide being done. Corson herself reportedly died of a heroin overdose several years later in California. Whatever demons Morrison was trying to escape from in Los Angeles, including the appeal to his conviction, obscenity charges, and pending jail sentence, eventually accompanied him across the Atlantic, and pretty much like the glaring gargoyles atop of Notre Dame, were a constant presence in Paris. Towards the end, he was having serious health issues such as asthma, stomach ulcers, coughing up blood, and had gained a great deal of weight, becoming bloated and easily winded. Remember, he was to change his look a lot at times.
Right.
Apparently, even though despite doing that, he would walk down the street and girls would follow him because they would know who he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Morrison has always been, according to friends, been obsessed with death, a very existential theme. Did he harbor an unconscious, death wish? Mortality is certainly one of life's uncertain, ultimate certains. Death anxiety rumbles constantly beneath the surface of consciousness, but is deliberately denied and avoided by most. But
Right.
approximately chronic denial or evasion of death anxiety can lead to a morbid obsession regarding mortality. The article continues here with this last paragraph. Jim Morrison attained fame, money, women, artistic recognition, and admiration beyond his wildest imagination. But he rejected that celebrity existence in Los Angeles because he felt like he had lost himself, hoping to rediscover who he really was while living in Paris. It seems that he had become lost, ultimately hopelessly so. Morrison may have been in the thorns of a full-blown existing crisis, a crisis of not only identity, but possibly of lost sense of meaning and purpose in life. Victor Frankl referred to such a painful and disoriented state of felt, meaningless, purposeless, and existential vacuum. Morrison may have been running from this crisis by moving to Paris, where living in a foreign land led to a loss of familiar moorings, making his existing vacuum even more pronounced, disorienting, and disturbing. Moreover, he at that time had relinquished his musical outlet for his creativity. Remember, Pamela was begging him to quit the music scene to become a full-fledged poet a couple of times there.
Yeah, which is probably
And
where American Prayer came from.
absolutely there. Apparently, we know the story. We got to tell the story about that. Apparently, it was at his birthday. He walked into a recording studio and started with a couple of friends, a bottle of booze, and he started doing all his poetry all in one session. He acted out his poetry words very perfectly there. Now, let me go continue with the article. And let's also not forget that his working relationship with the Doors were kind of like floundering as well there. He wanted to write more poetry solo, but although it was not clear he was going to do so. It may have been that Morrison fell victim to his nihilism, influenced perhaps by his favorite philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche. It's spelled Nietszsh,
Nietzsche.
CH Nietzsche, I think it is. But it was also a condition that we could describe as clinical despair. And that's the whole article right there that I just read for you there. So it's kind of Morrison had some issues with his personality, with the fame that was around him.
Yeah, yeah. Is YR still here?
Let me ask you, still there, YR?
Yeah, I'm listening. Listening.
Well, do you
Nice,
have a
good.
favorite Doors song or album?
I really like the Backdoor Man one, and then obviously the classics. Light My Fire, Break On to the Other Side. Love Me Two Times.
Right.
But the Doors, I don't know about like 2021, but within the last 10 years, 15 years, they still tour as a group.
Mm.
Correct?
Well, they don't really tour as the Doors, as I mentioned, with some oddball reason. I know they were called Doors at the 21st century when they had
Wasn't it like the Doors of Perception was their new group?
something like that,
Yeah.
I believe so. But I know that they one time called them, Ray Manzarek and Bobby Creeder called themselves Riders of the Storm, doing the music of the Doors, if I'm correct. If I'm, rec- if
Yeah.
I'm, re- Let's see there.
Well, Doctor,
Where?
what are your favorite songs and albums?
Well, my favorite songs and my albums. Well, my favorite songs have to be, of course, The End. Backdoor Man. Not to Touch the Earth. Of course, Riders of the Storm, for the reason that I described, that had to do. There was inspiration for the Hitcher movie there.
Right.
You know, but I would really like to check out Celebration of the Lizard on that live album. Because I've been so intrigued by it. I've been absolutely intrigued by it.
Yeah, I don't know if you have that Absolutely Live album, but that
I
is
never
really
did.
a good. That's
I
a
don't
good
think
one
I
to
really
listen to.
did. Yeah, definitely. And of course the song "Strange Days" is a good one. I forgot which industrial group covered it, but I got to look it up on YouTube to see if I can. Probably look up "Strange Days" industrial cover. Because I remember hearing that a few times there. I just never got the lowdown of who does it there. I'm going to see if I could get Carlos Cabral on the line here.
And again, I'm going to mention if you get a chance, listen to the lyrics of Horse Latitudes.
Yeah.
It'll creep you out.
And well, and it'll piss you off. If you love horses, or You're not gonna you're gonna be pissed off when you listen to this song. We guarantee that, man. Let's see. Okay, I'm DMing Carlos Gabriel on the live here because he called me late last night. There's something about this buddy of his named Kenny there. I'm gonna try and get him on the call here.
Oh yeah, Kenny, he's a good guy.
Yeah,
He's on my show a couple times.
Well, I guess Monday we'll have to do something different.
yeah.
I'm thinking we start going through prog bands. Well, I have an A to Z list. We'll
Yeah,
start with A and go from there.
yeah, good idea there.
And if we run
Okay.
across one that's worth expanding on,
Right.
we'll schedule a show for them.
Okay, yeah. So we'll do a part two if it goes a little bit, over the hour there. Let's
Oh, it
see.
will.
Let me. Oh yeah, well, oh yeah, absolutely.
Mike?
Keep it up, dude.
We're gonna do Rat Maniacs for an hour or so before Mars goes live with Keith after this stream. So
Oh, Mars is going live tonight.
What's up?
Oh yeah, that's right. Dirty Rotten Podcast.
Thursday night.
Yeah, nice. Right, forgot. All right, there.